I think the most important part is that it declares that things like Bitcoin and Ether are commodities, and so they would be regulated by the CFTC. A lot of other things would be considered equities to be regulated by the SEC. How did you come about with kind of deciding this? How much squabbling is there? Because there has been some interregulatory kind of dispute about who should be able to regulate this between the CFTC and the SEC.
The most important goal of this legislation was to create safety and soundness, to create consumer protections, transparency, accountability, and certainty. When we met with industry leaders, they basically said, we just need to know what the rules of the road are. We've been seeking regulation from various regulators, and the delays in response have been unconscionable. And so what we did was common sense. We used existing definitions. If you're a security, you're going to pass the Howey test, which is the securities definition. And for CFTC, we already had the futures market, so we added the spot market for cryptocurrencies. And we look at each digital asset's purpose. And based on the purpose, we aligned the regulatory framework around that purpose.
Already, though, there's squabbling that's continued, that's going back and forth, people saying, look, how can you regulate a decentralized effort to begin with? And by the way, aren't there conditions where some of these things would be considered equities and should be regulated by the SEC? You're right. This has taken a really long time. And the industry is kind of pushing back, and others are, too, jumping in on this. I guess that gets me back to that original question, Senator Gillibrand. How much support do you have? Do you think that this is something that the Senate will get behind?
I do, and I think this is just day one, and our goal is to make sure this goes through the 4 committees of jurisdiction. It takes a long time to build a regulatory framework for a new industry, and we expect this to go through the Banking Committee, which Cynthia is on. It'll go through the Agriculture Committee, which I'm on. It will go through Intelligence, and it'll go through Financial Services. These committees will have pieces of the bill because they only regulate parts of this industry, and regulation is necessary. You need to make sure that you have consumer protection. You need basic rules of the road, and that's what this legislation provides. We think there's going to be a lot of momentum behind this bill, having met with most of the industry stakeholders and the experts in this field, and we're just going to work with them over time to continue to improve the bill.
Who have you talked to, Senator Lummis, in terms of the leadership? Are they on board with this? I know you've reached out to both the left and the right. Where do you think your biggest support is coming from?
We have found very receptive people on both sides of the aisle. We've met with the leaders of the Finance Committee. As Senator Gillibrand mentioned, there will be 4 committees involved in this bill. So we'll want to go through and sort out how the bill can be divided among the committees, and then continue to meet with all of their members, not just the chairs, but all of their members. The fact that we're on several of these committees helps. We've met with the chairs and ranking members of all of the committees of jurisdiction. They know we're working on it. They know our approach. They know that we're trying to just fit the digital asset world into our current regulatory framework, and have a general overview of how we're going about it. So we've had dinners, we've had breakfast, we've had briefings, we've had meetings, we've brought in speakers, we've gone to meet with them individually. Our staffs have met with their staffs. This has been a lengthy effort on our part to not only brief our colleagues, but also collect information from the stakeholders.